back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So please excuse the slightly damp hair, I just went out for a run and had a shower. So in May I managed to read a lot of pages, not so many books, because I was focusing on some really long books and I was really enjoying them. So I'm going to go as usual from my least liked up to my favourite, and I'm going to tell you a tiny bit about each, but if you want to see more about each of these books then look out for the reviews, which will either be up, I'm actually on track at the moment, or they're coming very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled for them, they will be coming very, very soon. So, the first book I read I've actually got rid of because I hated it so much, and I DNF'd it, and this was in my 7 books I didn't like video, and it was The Book of Bearer by Susie Wilde. Just really wasn't for me. If you want to know a bit more about why, I will put a link to that video and you can go and watch it, but it was awful. It was so bad. So I DNF'd that one, unfortunately. The next book I managed to read was Central Station, which is by Lavi Tidhar. This is a sort of science fiction literary book. I would say it's a blend of both. Lavi Tidhar is a writer who's quite well known, but he definitely does kind of very weird sci-fi, and I like this sometimes and I hated it at other times. So I ended up giving this only a 2 out of 5 stars. It's not like the worst book I've ever read, but it's also definitely got its problems, and I just didn't think it was that great. So I will be doing a review of this probably. I buddy read this with Mercedes and both of us kind of felt the same and gave it 2 stars. So it's okay, but it's not my favourite sci-fi by any means. The next book I read was The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, and this one I ended up giving 3 stars, and I have done a review of this, so I'll link it below. The next one I read is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, which is by Caitlin Doughty. This book is a non-fiction about crematoriums, and I will have a review coming for this very soon, but I did enjoy it and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars overall. Next I read Valley of Embers, which is the first one in a series by Stephen Kellier. This was sent to me for review from the author and I absolutely loved it. It definitely felt like a really fun fantasy read and one I certainly would recommend. I will be having a full review of this coming soon, and I believe the second book is about to come out, so if you guys are interested in picking this up, I think it's really cheap on Kindle at the moment as a promo thing, so go and check it out. I definitely feel like this gives me vibes of Peter V. Brett and the Demon Cycle series, so if that is something you like, maybe try this one because it's in a similar vein, although it feels very original itself. So definitely one I'd recommend, and I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was an audiobook, and this is The Road to Jonestown, which was a really interesting audiobook all about the Jonestown mass suicide. If you've never heard of it, then it was an event that took place where lots of people who followed a religious leader killed themselves, and they did it in the jungle, and it was all a big mystery and it was pretty tragic. It was a really horrible sort of story, but I found it so fascinating and really intriguing because it followed the life of the leader of this, I suppose, cult, and it followed him and how he got into becoming this leader and how he made people follow him and all of that stuff that I find really fascinating. So I definitely enjoyed it and would thoroughly recommend it. It was a 4-star read for me, and I will be reviewing it very soon. The next book I read is one that was part of the short story Mothbox edition, which I really, really enjoyed. It's called The Doll's Alphabet and it's by Camilla Grudova. This was so, so good. If you like magical realism short stories, then this is definitely a collection I would fully recommend that you pick up. I think I loved nearly every story in here. I think there was only one that I didn't really get, and it wasn't bad, I just didn't feel like I got it, but the rest of them were superb and I absolutely loved them. I've done a full Goodreads review of this where I talked about each of the stories in detail, so I might do a review of it on my channel as well. Let me know if you want to see that. But I really, really enjoyed it and I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars overall and would thoroughly recommend it to anyone who likes a bit of magical realism. Next up, I read 3 books in a series. The first one is The Clan of the Cave Bear, which I ended up giving 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely adored this. It was fantastic. I loved it. It's a sort of Neanderthal focused fantasy, which is just crazy but awesome. I then went on and read the second one, which is Valiant Horses. I gave this a 4.5, still loved it, really enjoyable series. And so then I moved on to number 3 in the series, which is the Mammoth Hunters, and I've read this as well and I gave this a 4.5 too. I haven't reviewed this one yet, but I have done reviews of the first 2, so I'll put a link to that and I will be reviewing the third and fourth when I have read the fourth one, and then the fifth and sixth when I've read them. So that is my plan with this series. One I'd hugely recommend though. And the final thing that I managed to finish in May was Assassin's Fate, which is by Robin Hobb. This book is so good and so maddening all at once because I want more from the world. I absolutely loved it. I have done a full review of this, so I'll put a link to it below, and I would definitely recommend this, but only if you've read all the other books in the series. So obviously it's going to take some time to get there because this is book number 16. Robin Hobb is my favourite author, so if you've not tried her books, I would definitely recommend starting with either the Farseer books or the Live Ship books. It's up to you. See which one sounds more interesting. Those are the best start points. I would not recommend starting anywhere else because you will spoil yourself for the rest of the series. But this one was fabulous and I gave it 5 stars. So that is everything I managed to read in the month of May. I had a pretty good reading month overall. I definitely enjoyed more than I didn't, which is always a good thing, and I would certainly recommend a lot of these to you guys as well, so do let me know in the comments below what you find most interesting and whether there's any books that you would like to pick up yourselves. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.